Okay, this one is a very long trigo question. So when a trigo question is very long, most probably one part will lead to another part. Okay, so if you see that is a trigo question, do make sure you have your formula sheet handy first. Okay, so let's focus on one part at a time. But as you are moving from part to part, do bear in mind that sometimes in O-level question, one part can help you in another part. Okay, so let's start with part one first. Part one, the showing is actually quite easy. So if you recognize that this, you will need to use your addition formula. So if you recognize that you got to use the addition formula, the formula is available in the formula sheet. So there are 4 blocks of formula that you got to apply. So I will not be showing you everything. Okay, you just try to apply the formula carefully. You will find that there is a lot of cancellation that eventually lead you to sine alpha, cosine alpha. And that's how you get your tangent alpha. Okay, so this one you got to try it out. Insert the formula correctly. You must be able to see all the cancellation. So even if, let's say, you couldn't prove this will be a proof that you can use subsequently. Okay, so then the next one, we are told of A and B, 2 angles. So these 2 angles apparently at the moment doesn't seem to be related to part 1 yet. Okay, so we just focus on the 2 angles. So A and B are both acute. So acute means it's going to be something like this. So when both of them are acute, when we subtract them, so when we do a subtraction, what kind of angle will you expect? So we got to think about our ASTC. Sine is negative. So you need to go through some thinking process first. So you got to think about sine is negative. That means this could be in the 3rd or the 4th quadrant. So there can be 2 possibilities for A minus B, 3rd or 4th quadrant. But if it's a 3rd quadrant, you find that it will exceed the range. So it could, so if you think about the 2 numbers being a acute angle, the only way is it can be in the 4th quadrant. So 4th quadrant, how can it be in the 4th quadrant? Okay, there are 2 possibilities for the 4th quadrant. It can be 360 minus alpha, or it can be a minus alpha. That means it can be a negative value. So in this case, because of the numerical value, if you subtract the 2 angles, it's not possible that you get 3rd quadrant. So that means, right, I'm expecting this to be in the 4th quadrant. So I'm expecting this to be negative, because the only way for them to be in the 4th quadrant will be they are negative alpha. And because of this, I'm expecting that angle A is smaller than B. Okay, or you can rephrase it. You can rephrase it as in, like, you will expect angle B to be bigger than A. Okay, so it's only 1 mark. It's for you to deduce. So when you are supposed to deduce, right, you actually don't need to show working, but you need to go through the thinking process. And in fact, this is going to help you in the next part. So you should be by the time they make you think, you should be able to understand that A minus B is in the fourth quadrant. So A minus B will be, so this one will be the fourth quadrant. So I'm going to do my triangle method. So I'm going to do my triangle method on the fourth quadrant. So this will be my angle A minus B. Okay, so being in the fourth quadrant, okay, then I'm going to use this part. This is the opposite. This is the hypotenuse. So the opposite is 3. The hypotenuse is 5. Okay, and you do a Pythagoras theorem, you will get a 4. So you apply the formula. So if this is the fourth quadrant, the cosine in the fourth quadrant is positive value. So it will be positive A over H. So it will be 4 over 5. So this is actually helping you with this. So you need to decide that it's actually the fourth quadrant. Then you can draw a triangle based on the fourth quadrant. And your AFCC is based on the fourth quadrant. Okay, so after this, I'm supposed to think about cosine A plus B, cosine tangent A plus B, and sine A plus B. Okay, by now you actually got a lot of information. So if you want to, right, you can just jot it down first. So by now I know that sine A minus B is negative 3 over 5. And I also gotten A minus B, cosine A minus B as 4/5. So this is what I have gotten so far. Now they gave me a further piece of information. And my job is to find this. Okay, so maybe you'll be thinking, so how am I going to find this? Okay, if you are staring at the addition formula, the list on the addition formula, you're actually not wrong, but you find that, but that is only 1 mark. That means it's supposed to be quite direct. Yes. So you need to think of the formula tangent. Instead of looking at the addition formula on the list, you think about it as sine A plus B over cosine A plus B. So this is the formula that you should actually make use of. So with this formula, I insert this part. This will be the 24 over 7. This will be what the question wants me to find. And the denominator is actually provided. That is 7 over 25. So you can do your cross multiplication and get your sine A plus B to be 24 over 25. So the formula is actually quite easy and the steps are not complicated. That's why it's only 1 mark. Okay, then I'm supposed to use part 1. Here comes the part. So the question says I'm supposed to use the identity in part 1. So maybe you will need to write what have you gotten in part 1 first. So in part 1, okay, just write down first. And then you see, how can you find tangent A? So this is what we have from part 1. So part 1 is an identity, meaning it's actually a formula. So it's actually a formula. So whether you prove it or not, it will maintain as a formula. So in part 1, we got this formula. So how am I going to change? So I'm going to change all the alpha to A, all the beta to B. So I'm going to change. So this is the identity. Then after that, I'm going to insert the value part by part. So if you look at look at what have you gotten. This is the one that you have found. This was the one that has been given. And this is the one, it is also given 7/25. Then cosine A minus B is also been found. So you just need to punch calculator. You should be able to get tangent A equal to 1/3. So all the individual values are already found. Then after that, I am supposed to find tangent B. Now this is the time that you should be thinking of the addition formula. The addition formula that's provided. So look at the addition formula that is provided. You write out first. As you write out, you can insert whatever you have. You have the tangent A plus B. It's here. It's already given to you. It's just that you if you're not mindful of what you have, you find that like things are everywhere. And then the 1/3, I can put in the 1/3. So put in the 1/3. Put in the 1/3. If you do your cross multiplication very carefully, you should be able to get your tangent B. So actually, it's a question that just play around with a lot of formulas, but a lot of students find it intimidating. Okay, so when you see a long question on trigo, have the formula ready. It helps that you stare at those given formula.